The
we're live, baby, live.
We are live. Episode number 5 of our third annual 12 Hours of Boom.
5.
From Louisville, joining us, Bill with Fourgate Whiskey Company.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the Kelvin collaboration. And I think you're working on the second collaboration already, aren't you?
Yes, we are. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. This is it's been fun so far. So we got our first batch out in April of this year. Second batch is due out around Labor Day, and we'll have another one either between then and Christmas, or between our Christmas batch and April of next year.
Oh wow! So working on 3 batches out pretty quick.
We'll have we're going to do 3 main batches a year, and then we have as we kind of come across some special barrels here and there, we'll have really small releases, only 500-600 bottles, something like that. So we'll either have one of those small releases after the batch 2 or after batch 3.
How big was the Kelvin collaboration?
1,732 bottles.
So I mean, for to go down to 600 bottles, that's small.
Yeah. We actually came across 2 lots of whiskey that we just, the more we tasted it, we couldn't think of what we could do that would make it better. So we're going to release it as is.
Well, back up a little bit and give everybody that's watching walk us
introduction.
We did this,
sure.
We did that. Just how did you get to where you're at?
Well, I started modernthirst.com about 5 or 6 years ago now, and it just kind of grew and grew to the point where I was doing some consulting with some national brands, and with doing a lot of store picks for people going on their private barrel picks and things like that. And I kind of got introduced to Kelvin Cooperage by my business partner in Fourgate named Bob D'Antoni. He'd had some business with them over the years, and I was just kind of I was really amazed at their operation, and it's very hands-on, it's very small, and it kind of got my mind thinking a little bit more about the influence of the barrels on whiskey. And then Wes Jolly from Modern Thirst Rice Forest introduced me to Scotch and World whiskey. I really hadn't played around with it hardly at all, and I just love all the different flavors you get from all these different barrels. And I kind of wanted to, I kept looking for that in bourbon and in American whiskey, and it's just very hard to find. So basically, I decided to kind of make the whiskey that I wanted to make and couldn't find myself. So we collaborate with Kelvin Cooperage here in Louisville. They do both new and used cooperage. So I do the blending. Bob and I taste it and pick. I'll give them a couple options, 3 options of the different blends of whiskey, and we take it down to Kelvin, and then they take us through their warehouse. Has just thousands of barrels from all over the world in it, and we find out what we like. Those guys know more about how wood impacts whiskey and liquor than anyone I've ever met in my life. So I figure we would start with good whiskey and then go to the experts on the barrels to finish it. On this first batch we blended. They're all 11-year-old barrels. High rye mash bill, 74% corn, 18% rye, 8% malted barley. And we took it down to Kelvin, and they found they had 6 of these big 59-gallon barrels. They were originally Oloroso sherry, and then they were used for a batch of rum. So they smelled like maple syrup. It was amazing, and we bought all 6 of them on the spot. And that determined our batch size. We would have gone a little bit bigger other than that.
Yeah, so that's interesting that it was one barrel that held both sherry and rum in it before. Where I thought it was, you had standard sherry cask, then moved to a rum cask. So yeah,
we really liked it. We wanted to. I don't want to just make the same whiskey you can find on the shelf. So there's a ton of. I love it, and we'll probably eventually do just a sherry finish or just a cognac or something like that. But we wanted to come out of the gates doing something a little different.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm using it as we speak.
What proof is this bottled at?
60.
Yeah, 123.4.
Yep, 61.7. Yep. That's nice. I had just a little sip earlier.
Yep.
We're going to do everything at barrel proof just because I think that's the way God intends whiskey to be bottled.
There you go. Now, interesting side note, we were going to have you on just a standalone live show, feature the samples we got here, and then Duty called. I knew you would take that lead. And you had to go in, and then I almost had to go in. And then instead of, we usually do oftentimes live shows from your house. So we ended up just saying, hey, we can't do proper justice to you guys. So we just put that on hold, and we were pleased when you could join us for the 12 Hours of Boom.
Yeah, I think it worked out great. This is exciting. I watched the previous episodes or parts of it this morning. I love it. This is really fun. Again, thanks again. This is great.
Oh, it's great. Thank you.
Yeah,
So,
it's a long day for us, but it gives us a chance to bring in a lot of people. Yeah, long fun day.
Right.
But allows us to bring in several guests throughout the day and just talk about different aspects, different topics of whiskey.
I think the long day was referenced toward me. He can only usually do about 9.3 hours with me.
No, it's
less.
actually
Less?
well, no. The 12 hours with you hasn't been it's sitting on the bum for 12 hours.
Yeah.
It gets a little
right.
old
Yeah.
sometimes.
We are going to stand up in a future show. We don't know when we're going to stand up, but we will stand.
About 5-6 p.m. we need coffee.
Right. Yep. Coffee
That
will start
helps.
to brew.
Yeah. That's about the time that you start
right. Yeah. You're saying about hour 8 or 9.
8 or 9, and you gotta pep it up. You gotta pick it up. That's
yeah, and then Iron Root just about took me out there. I kept pouring, and Scott's looking at me weird, and then Robert's like, "Have another. Look at this little surprise I have here." I'm like, "I have to try the surprise."
I'm like, an ounce an hour.
Dude. Yeah, and I'm like, "Good, I'll make up for it later." That's what's going to happen. What do we got? Mash and Drum came in. Fourgate rules.
Yep.
Enough said.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
Yep, Jason will be on later with us.
Yep, he's coming in.
Also, the coins that Bart and I are using are pulling double duty.
Yes, they are double duty.
These were used in our Compass Box Tobias and the Angel review right before we went to Scotland. Yep. And we're going to give these away at the end of the show. Right. One will go to Patreon, and one will go to Bill. Will come up with a question, a trivia here from the video.
Keep
something
an
about
idea.
his whiskeys, maybe.
Yeah, keep a whiskey trivia idea that you'll want to use. That
326, by the way,
and 325.
That's right. The nose on this, I put the coin on there, and boy, it really concentrated. It hit me with a punch in the nose right off the bat. Nice cinnamons and caramels. I don't know that I'm getting any of the wine cask influence yet.
Yeah, this is what I'm wondering. For tasting purposes, does more of the wine cask come out as you add water to and kind of bring her down a little bit, or what's your expertise on it?
Yeah, so I get a little bit of the sherry and rum on the nose. It's not overpowering. I'm really not a fan of going overboard on barrel finishes. So this was about 90 days of finishing. The barrels were really wet when we got them too, so we didn't want to overdo it. So it's kind of a subtle finish. You definitely get a little bit of it on the nose. I get sherry on the tip of the tongue when I taste it, and then rum on the finish and kind of coating the mouth. Mm-hmm. But again, we really love the whiskey that we put in there, so we still want it to taste like bourbon. We just want to kind of had a kind of a short finish. We kind of wanted to address that a little bit too. So
got it.
Now, I do notice, and I forgot after the live stream, you purchased one of our Cask 4 coins, and you're using it.
Oh yeah,
right there. Yep. I've got number 330.
Nice.
And I've got another one, 331 back here.
Yeah, very nice. Now, see, that was right. So we got 325 and 326 that were given away. So that was right after Compass Box, Tobias, and the Angel.
Now, is that coin back there? Is that from West Jolly's Whiskey Club too?
It is. That's a Proper Pour Whiskey Club.
Yep.
Nice.
Wes does a lot of great work for Modern Thirst. We're real happy to have him.
Yeah, he's awesome. He and I were just at Stranahan's at the latest Cask Thief deal on the 22nd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some noises from upstairs.
There's somewhere moving going on up there.
All right, I'm going in on the palate.
Go in. I'm going to see, are there any kind of comments coming in? There's some definite, always good conversation back and forth. Licorice talking to the Whiskey D. I'm just going to say Whiskey D. Let's see. Yep.
It is really good on the palate. My Lord. Just first sip, you get the strong bourbons, the caramels, the cinnamons, the oak, and then the I'm going to call it the rum finish. I think it's sweeter than a sherry finish that I'm getting right off the bat anyway. I know on the tail end here, another sweetness is going to come in just as it did earlier when I just had a little sip.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that sweet rumminess coming in the finish.
When we created the blends, I made 3 blends out of our barrels. And the first one was kind of geared towards oakiness. The second one was that cinnamon spice. And the third one was more on the buttery sweetness. And everyone just picked the spicy. And it worked great with these barrels. That kind of baking spice and pepper goes great with those rum and sherry notes.
Yeah, you guys pour a little bit more.
Yeah, you guys
That
got
is
some?
that is
Yeah.
11
it's
years.
delicious. I love it.
11 years of showing really nice with it. It's really picked up some good depth. Great, and like you say, it's a bourbon with a hint of the finishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one will ever call this a sherry bomb or a rum bomb or anything like that. And that's what we were going for in the first place. Now, batch 2 is going to be a little bit different. So that one's out there a bit.
So, I mean, have you said or have you put out there then what batch 2 is going to be?
We haven't yet, but we're getting ready to bottle it at the beginning of next month. So I guess it doesn't hurt. We found some, they were orange curacao barrels that were then used to age gin.
Oh,
and when we got it, when we smelled the barrels, I don't really like orange curacao finished whiskey. I think it overpowers the whiskey. So I really was adamantly opposed to this. And William Hornaday from Calvin Cooperage just kept saying, come smell these barrels, come smell these barrels. And it smelled like, I don't really want to say that. I guess I can say the brand name, Orange Tang, the powdered drink that everybody had as a kid. It smelled just like that. Instead of that syrupy sweet, it was kind of a tangy orange. And it was really the gin influence, I think, that did that. So, yeah, that's batch 2, and it is really interesting. It's so different than this. We were originally kind of worried how people would even respond to gin, having gin on the label at all. But it doesn't. You get a little bit of the juniper on the nose of it, but all in all, it's another spice bomb.
Interesting. Yeah, because at Stranahan's at the Cask Thief, they had a gin. Some Stranahan's that was in a gin barrel, and it did have a little bit of that juniper kind of flavoring in there. And it was that one was a little different. Maybe it was a little bit too much of that. It wasn't bad at all, but being able to only purchase 2 of those Cask Thief bottles, it was not one I was going to buy there.
Yeah. I will say on batch 2, you're going to get a explosion of orange on the nose. It's already tanked and ready to bottle. We just waiting our turn.
Sweet.
I'll tell you, I liked.
Yeah,
if you're referencing like the Parker's Heritage Orange Curacao finish, I like that one. That one really hit my palate good.
Yeah, it's not quite as sweet as that. It does tend to be more spicy, I would say, than that one. And then again, that gin cuts the sweetness a little bit. So it's more on the tangy side.
What about as far as the whiskey you started with? Were you still able to start with an 11-year-old?
We have some 12 in it. This one we blended 2 different whiskeys. One is 5.5 and one is 12.
High rise again?
One is high rye and one is probably pretty standard mash bill, about probably 8 to 10%. I have to check the numbers. I always give the wrong one, and Bob, my partner, always corrects me. So
I get corrected here all the time.
Yeah,
he's the numbers man.
Yeah, we thought about using all 12-year-old for that one, but it's really expensive, and those barrels that we have, they don't yield much. So we also didn't want to put out a $300 bottle. But in all honesty, the younger stuff that we have has a very nutty character to it. It's very sweet, very nutty, and it just paired really well with this tangy orange. So it's pretty close to 3 to 2 between the 5.5 and 12.
I know, and DH Silv too was asking what the price point is going to be on batch 2.
Batch 2 will be about the same as this.
All right.
Is that $199?
Yeah, roughly, give or take, depending on markups and what have you.
Is there anywhere that you know of that still has bottles of batch 1?
Yeah, there's a Kroger near me that has one, and I think Westport Whiskey and Wine might have a few because they got a bunch.
Yeah.
Outside of Louisville, I have no idea. I don't think Tennessee will have any left.
I got a job for Whiskey Scout to do. You need to go to the Kroger in Louisville.
Yeah, nobody's watching this can go there. Yeah. You got to hold off.
Hey, you want our credit card?
Yeah. We'll even give you a little cash.
Get in the car.
Yeah. You need to start driving right now. The fire pit is now out for you. That is not happening later.
I don't think I would be for $200 if I bought this bottle and cracked it and said that sucker.
Now you said crack. I've got to ask. Earlier, Amy had in there that at her house they have a crack ban. What is that? Cocaine? What are you talking about, Amy? It just flashed across. She said our house has a crack ban, and I know there was some kind of dialogue I missed early on, but now that you said you would crack it, I've got to ask Amy, what did I miss in the prior comments that were on there? I wasn't sure what she was talking about. First, I thought maybe GCAP wore his shorts low. Yeah, I got a little whiskey scout like that one. Sorry, Bill.
No worries.
Comments came across, and I was like, "What is that?"
Richie Z wants to know where you came up with the name Fourgate.
Actually, my partner Bob came up with that. One thing we didn't want to do is, for one, I didn't want to name it after my kids, because if I ever, if it went out of business, or if I sold the company and I named it, Old Molly's or something like that, I'd be heartbroken if I had to sell it. But so Fourgate is a slang term for the four rail fence, which is usually painted black. You see them around all the horse farms in central Kentucky. And I'm sure everyone's seen photos of them, but it's a very iconic image of Kentucky. We also didn't want to resurrect an old label we didn't have any connection to. It's not authentic enough for us. So we just like that we're able to use some of the imagery, and we have Fourgate fences imagery. Sometimes it's subtle on the bottles. And then we have on the photo on the front, allows us to just kind of pull that Kentucky imagery in without being unauthentic. But we really like the way it rolled off the tongue.
Okay.
Mash and Drum is asking, is the distribution for batch 2 going to be the same? Kentucky,
yes.
Tennessee.
Kentucky and Tennessee for now. So the distributors are Republic in Kentucky and Littman Brothers in Tennessee. We will eventually look to expand, but in the near term, we just don't have enough. We can't produce enough bottles to go much further, unless we're only going to send a couple hundred bottles to each state. So.
And George Kaplan, Amy's husband, says that there's all kinds of crack bands. Yes. Can't open any more bottles.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Which Amy confirms.
So
no
it was
new
the
bottles
cracking of a new bottle.
Why?
Just like you said.
Here's the deal. You've already bought the bottle.
Sure.
There's no difference in if you crack it or you don't.
It's probably the sheer amount of bottles that GCAP has. You know what that means, Amy?
It keeps.
It means he just needs to share some more with the dummies.
Send them over here. We'll crack them.
Yeah, we'll crack them. I know Wes Jolly's been sharing back and forth with GCAP.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, they met at the gathering, and now they're bottle buddies. Is that legal?
Is that men meeting men on the internet?
Sure, with good purpose.
All right, Bill, I'm looking. You got some shelves similar to mine. The 3/4-inch black pipes.
Those are.
Yeah.
You got Elijah Craig barrel proof, a lot of Knob Creeks.
Yeah, he's calling out your bottles.
What's back here over your left shoulder, though? Is that?
That's the bar. I've got a row of Fourgate on top. Just a mix of all my cabinets are full, and it's really a problem. My wife would kill me if she knew how much was down here.
Wow. Once again, we can alleviate you of your problem.
We'll come to Louisville and we'll definitely work on it. Yeah, I really like barrel bourbon, so I've got a lot of their stuff back there. Row Fourgate on top, and then my stash that is probably off camera of my 6-year bottle in Bond, Heaven Hill, my daily drinker before they canceled it.
I know. What were they doing?
That's killing me.
Like $11.99.
So then what's your thoughts? Because they're bringing out a 7-year bottled in Bond for $40 now.
I really want to thank them for not distributing that to Kentucky. That was really nice of them. No, I'd love to really get angry at them, but I honestly think I'm kind of a Heaven Hill fanboy anyway. I just love the flavor profile in general, and they're just underpriced across the board.
Yeah.
You can't put out whiskey at $12 at 6 years old anymore. It's just not possible. I know that their cost of whiskey is a lot lower than mine, which is, they're not putting out a lot of $200 bottles. It costs them a lot less to produce a bottle than it does for us to buy a barrel already. But I wish they had just, same thing with taking the 12 off the Elijah Craig. I wish they had just increased the price as opposed to taking off age statements and canceling things. If it's got to be hard to find, it's got to be hard to find. But that was, I would bet of most of the real bourbon snobs or geeks that you would find in Louisville, that 6-year bottle in Bond was probably their go-to.
Yeah.
For 90% of them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We have a couple bottles ourselves, and the Whiskey Scout, he disappeared.
Yeah,
he was sitting there.
He probably took those bottles with him.
He's on his way to Louisville.
He's on his way to Louisville.
But he was down there touring some distilleries and brought us back the bottles that we have. And we had Jamie the Beaver had arranged for us to get a bottle.
Balcones Rye.
Yeah, back there in the back, right down there.
I see.
I see the white top.
Hold on. Yep.
Oh, we're still locked on Bill.
Yeah, I think it's a good way. A lot of people, when they try, they come to Louisville, and I've had them tried at bars and places, and they're a little disappointed that they think, it's great, but I don't see why everybody's going crazy. And I always had to say, but it was $12.
Exactly.
It's a good bourbon. It's not a fantastic one. It was $12.
Right.
Yep.
Age stated, 100 proof. You can't beat it.
And it's in a glass bottle, not plastic.
Yep.
Right.
And how about the other one back there with the yellow label?
Yep.
Bill will know which one we're talking about there with the yellow label.
Oh, mellow corn.
Yellow corn, another good one.
Yeah.
$9.99, $10, $11, somewhere in there. Is it the best whiskey you're ever going to have? No. Is it worth $10 or $11? Yeah.
I've kind of taken, now that the bottle and bond is gone, I've been buying just the green label Heaven Hill 6-year, what I think it's 90 proof. But I mean, it's not quite as good, being a little lower proof, but it's one of the few that's mostly only Kentucky and still has that ridiculous price point that I'm sure that's going away at some point too.
Now, see,
if I like it, I can just guarantee you that somebody's going to discontinue it.
Yeah. No, the thing is, we don't see those at all here. Any of the Heaven Hills, the green label or that white label bottle and bond. So
I prefer to buy them in the 1.75 plastic travelers.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that. Let's see what we got going on comment wise here. Whiskey Dong. I love some ECBP, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
let's talk about, because you got a few bottles of that up there behind you, Bill, over your right shoulder.
Yeah,
I do. I've got about what is it? About 10?
Nice.
10 different ones. I can't drink it fast enough. It puts me to sleep when I
yeah.
try to drink more than a couple glasses of it.
It's like a right hand haymaker. It makes you sleep.
Yeah, I've got some of that. I've got a lot of Stag Junior. I like that. Again, I like barrel proof bourbons. Sometimes I'll add water to it, but I'd rather start out full flavored and go from there.
Even, I mean, the Elijah Craig barrel proof to us is really the standard.
Mm-hmm.
Unintentionally, we kind of compare bourbons to it. Good.
Well,
is it better than? Is it worse than? Robert's licorice shaking his head. Yeah, maybe.
I agree.
It's solid.
For a bourbon that you can still, it comes out 3 times a year. If you're watching, you can find it.
70s.
Still reasonably priced.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Grove's Liquor here in town, who had it the other day for $129.
Oh my God! What?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Ouch.
Grove's,
What?
the new Grove's.
Wow,
Oh,
he's just,
yeah.
That's crazy.
That's
Come on,
God.
guys. Anyway,
Yeah,
if you can find, even the thing is, I've seen it for 90. Okay, it's worth 90. I'd pay up to 90 for it.
72.
I prefer $43 in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, Oklahoma travel.
Yeah,
baby.
that's no more either.
Oh, really?
Yeah, last time I was down there, they corrected me on that. That's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, James McGauran says, "Stop liking stuff, both of you,
Yeah.
all of you."
Wes Jolly's tuning in. Hey, Bart, ask Bill about the Ardbeg Oogedale.
Ooh, tell us.
Wes has let me taste that before. It is, and he left me a bottle of it, and it is outstanding. He got me into Scotch. I was pretty much just, bourbon, rye, and a few different American whiskeys, and he's got me all sorts of. Every time he comes here, he brings me 2 or 3 bottles, and you gotta love it. It's good stuff. That Oogedale is fantastic.
Oh yeah, love the Ardbeg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love the Oogie.
See, and we talked about this a little bit ago, but it's still surprising me people that are afraid to venture out of Scotch into other whiskeys, or they're afraid to venture out of bourbon into other whiskeys. There's different expectations. There is different flavor profiles with them.
Well, that's what we actually try to deliver. It's an exploration.
Yeah.
So,
even us at first, we were just Scotch. We didn't care for bourbon. We kind of branched out, and it took us a while to morph into it. But yeah, now we've had whiskey from Taiwan and Australia, Japan, Ireland, Scotland, Canada, States. It's all good. There's a lot of good whiskey.
Mezcal. Yeah. So. Yeah.
I think my favorite thing that he's brought me is it's a 2009 Deanston finished in Bordeaux wine barrels. It is red wine barrels. It is fantastic. I have to force myself not to drink it by the pintful.
Now, what would you say your kind of your go-to is? What would be your go-to whiskey?
I'm supposed to say Fourgate, right?
There you go.
But no, I even can't afford to drink. Fourgate is my go-to.
I mean, just to say genre, bourbon.
Bourbon, yeah.
Bourbon's
my go-to. Occasionally, I'll have nights where I want just Scotch or something else, and then I'll get on kicks where I just want nothing but rye. But by and large, it's bourbon.
Yep. Yeah, I want just that spicy pepper kick from a good rye.
Exactly.
So now I know this is finished in sherry and rum, and that debate is out there. Could you have slapped Fourgate bourbon on this label?
No, it's considered a whiskey specialty. As soon as it touches a different kind of barrel, and it's also why we can't put an age on the bottle. Whiskey specialties, you're not allowed to have an age statement. So we would otherwise. We actually, first time we submitted this, we had a big old number 11 on there, and they made us take it off. So
just because of the wine cask finish.
Yeah, it's a little, I understand it's all about consumer protection. They want to make sure that whoever is buying this, if you see it on the shelf, you know what you're buying, right? So if I were to put 11 years on this and it's a whiskey specialty, there's no telling. It's not still bourbon per se. So it could be anything. And what does the 11 years mean? Is that a combination of the original aging plus how long it was in the secondary barrels? There aren't any standards for any of that. I know that there's some rule changes that they're kind of proposing at the TTB that will actually create a new type and style for finished bourbon. And it would essentially just be whatever kind of bourbon. So Kentucky straight bourbon finished in whatever type of barrels would be a new style. And that would allow an age statement as well, which we would really like. And it would be the age of just the original aging, the youngest barrels of the youngest original barrels. We'd be fine. We would love that to happen.
I love that.
But yeah, so it's considered a specialty whiskey. Anything that's finished. So I mean, us, Angel's Envy, all of that. But it is. I like to tell everyone, they ask me if it's bourbon. I say, well, it's bourbon finished in sherry rum casks.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Well, I love it. If they change that and add an American single malt, I would be thrilled.
Amen to that.
I think I've seen that on a few labels though. Bourbon finished in XYZ. Yeah,
I mean, pretty much any of them that do any finishing, they have to do it. And it's funny how precise it has to be on. So on our labels, we have the description of what it is. It all has to be the same font, the same size, the same color. And it can't be misleading. So you can't have like Kentucky straight bourbon huge and then finished in sherry rum barrels small. So it creates a little bit of a challenge sometimes just trying to fit them on the labels and still be readable. But especially with us when we have 18,000 words to put on there.
So creating a whiskey, say from scratch, what would you say has been the biggest headache?
I think, well, early on, I would say the biggest issues were getting state licenses for Kentucky and Tennessee, just because there's absolutely no guidance. You can't go to their website and find out there's 1,000 licenses you can apply for, and there's no one who will tell you which one you need. So it was just kind of a headache, but by and large, my business partner, Bob, does most of the sourcing. So he has relationships with all the whiskey brokers, the bulk whiskey brokers. And I know that is probably the lion's share of work that he does. And he does a lot of work on that end. So I would say getting that, surprisingly, in Louisville, Kentucky, it's not that hard to find investors to start a whiskey company. I thought that was going to be the hardest part, but we got really lucky with that and got some great guys on board.
Good. Good. Very nice. For sure.
Yeah, definitely. What else? What do you got?
I was just perusing the comments there.
Yeah.
Now, getting a look-see.
No more crack comments?
Are you pretty much whiskey full-time then? Or you got a different day job?
No, I have a day job. I work for a financial company. They probably don't want me to say it on the air. But I do project management for them during the day. And my business partner, Bob, does cost analysis as well. And I'm lucky. I've been at my company for almost 14, 15 years. So I have so much vacation time that it's not a problem if I want to go just watch them bottle our whiskey or anything like that. So
yeah, good. Well, yeah, I mean, so you got a full-time job, which probably is actually a full-time plus a little bit, and then Modern Thirst and a whiskey company on top of that. So you're busy.
Yeah. It's my wife would prefer that I pick one and go with it, but
whiskey it is.
So tell us more about Modern Thirst. So I know you said you started it 5 years ago?
Yeah, I think we're about 5.5 years old now. So 2014. Technically, we started January 2014, I think. And then, but I guess we were up a little before then. We just, I don't know. Yeah, so about 5 years. We just review whiskey, kind of talk about different trends and blog and such. And it kind of, timing wise, it just kind of grew. I'm sure it's around the same time that you guys started too, where it was the beginning of the bourbon boom. We didn't know that. I mean, we didn't know it was happening. I just always loved bourbon from back in the 90s in college to, today. And I had a background in writing as well back in college and journalism. And I just kind of wanted to combine the two things I really like to do. Started Modern Thirst, and it just kind of flew. We're getting 350,000 views a month, and it got to be too much for one person to handle. So we brought on Wes was really our first additional writer, and we brought on 3 more since then. So I have a business partner up in Cincinnati who runs that site with me.
Beautiful.
And I actually don't review the whiskeys anymore, just because it's probably a little bit of a conflict of interest for me to score someone else's when I'm trying to sell my own. So.
Sure.
But yeah, Wes and our guys here in Louisville and in Texas, they do lots of scoring.
Beautiful. What's your feeling on like all these different distilleries, these small, big, medium distilleries open up all over the country? And like I noticed when we were down in Texas, we talked about it with Robert, that it feels to me like Texas is definitely kind of making a stand for almost like a Texas region. Are you picking up any other areas, or have you tried things where you feel like, oh, we're getting a feel or a style?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Tennessee has a style down there. I feel like the real styles we're seeing are out west in Colorado and Oregon and places like that, where they're going more towards single malts. And American single malts, I think, are probably the next big thing in whiskey. Again, like you said, they need to codify that type and style and kind of make it official, I think. And then you'll start seeing a lot of people doing some really interesting things. I love most everything I've had from the Colorado region. Distillery 291 it blows me away every time I taste anything that they've produced, and I love it.
Right.
So I definitely love that. Texas is so big. I feel like it kind of runs a gamut between everything from bourbon at Garrison Brothers to Balcones and places like that. That just it's just so big that I don't know that they ever even need their own style. They can do a little bit of everything.
Sure. Yeah, I look forward to the American single malts. I've been a big fan of ever since Stranahan's and Westland and the stuff coming out. And I think once it, like you said, gets codified, it's really going to just go, whoo.
I agree. And it's so different if you think about a single malt Scotch versus American single malts. The flavor profiles are so different, and they're only scratching the surface of what they can do with that. It's so neat how Scotch whiskeys and other whiskeys are. I'm not trashing bourbon because they have to use a new charred oak container, but you get essentially everyone is just malt. It's just barley. So it's the same ingredient that everyone uses, but they have this huge array of flavors because it's the different aging conditions and the casks and finishing methods and things like that. That I just think there's this world of opportunity for American distillers in the single malt realm. And there's no reason it has to be limited to single malt. You could just as easily just call it American whiskey. You could use a bourbon mash bill, but age it in a sherry cask if you really wanted to. Right. Call it American whiskey. And I think it's fantastic. A rising tide. It's great. I love what's happening in the industry today.
Yep. I think there's a lot of very cool, interesting things. And that's what we love, the exploration kind of as we move around and try different things. So I think that's going to continue for years and years.
Yeah, it is. And I really do think you're starting to see a lot of that. You're starting to see a lot of like distillery tours and trails all over the place. In the Northeast, they're kind of remembering that they are the rye whiskey center of the world. And that's starting to come back up in Maryland and Pennsylvania and places. And, out West they're killing it. They've got great water out there. And that's so important when you're making whiskey. Just really exciting stuff. It's really fun to see. I keep telling Wes and other people I need to get out there and actually visit Stranahan's and Distillery 291 and some of these other places I haven't actually been to, but it'll happen.
Yeah, I know. He brought us the 291 with the aspen staves that are in there.
Yeah, with all the flair
Yeah, it's got a lot of flair on it.
I've got one of those from him as well.
Yeah, they've got stickers.
I really liked it.
galore.
You were Bart was a little put off just by there's a heavy aspen kind of tree,
I grew up.
forestry like note
Yeah,
to it.
yeah. I grew up in the mountains up in Evergreen, and we had aspen trees all around, and you can definitely feel that coming through. It should be over here.
It's back behind the Delbog.
So, but
Yeah.
I mean, it
Down
took me a while to warm up to it because that aspen flavor is strong in there.
It is, and I think I did a video on the was it the Bad Guy batch of bourbon from them, but it's so unique. It's such a different flavor profile than you typically get on it. I mean, I think it's 100% malted rye or 95% malted rye or something like that on the mash bill, but it's so different. And it's that aspen is what really does it. I think I have to assume anyway.
Yeah,
And it may
rye malt mash.
I mean, you're not gonna. That's not really the same flavor profile that you're. If you're like MGP rye and Indiana rye, it's going to be very different than that.
Mm-hmm.
So it can catch you by surprise. I know that.
Yep, and then there's the flare. Boom. They've got some stickers on there, baby. They've won some awards.
And they want you to know it.
That's right.
Good on them.
Yep, sticker. So let's see what else. He's typing in. Oh yeah, okay. Let's see. Let me see what other comments we've got.
Let's do a giveaway real quick.
Oh yeah, okay.
We're almost we're at 237.
237.
So we have these are the coins 326 and 325. These are also used in our compass box, Tobias and the Angel review. We're going to give these away, one to Patreon and one. Do we have any new patrons?
There were none that had come in as of last checked.
Bill, do you have a question you would like, a trivia question to ask the crowd watching? And the first person to guess the right answer or to get the correct answer wins coin 326.
What kind of trivia question should I be asking here?
Something we've discussed, something you brought up. Maybe it's
could be about Fourgate.
Okay. What's the proof of batch one?
Ooh, there you go.
It's a good one.
I'll have to look.
Yeah.
I bet Jason Mashing will get it right. You can't look at your bottle either, Jason.
Yeah. I knew. I forgot the point. I couldn't remember the point after. No new folks have come in.
Did you ask the ABV or you asked the proof, didn't you?
Proof. Yeah. ABV is fine too.
There it is right there. Yeah. Jason Mashing got it.
Ha.
Wow.
We'll give it to him, even though I know he's got the bottle.
got it.
He's got 326.
He came in.
326. Jason Mashing.
Spencer would have been next.
Yep.
But Mash got it.
Now we have a give 325 to a Patreon patron supporter. All right. Hey Siri, generate a random number between 1 and 170.
A random number between 1 and
I was sitting there. I was like,
remember.
I needed to start talking so you could blame me.
All right, here we go.
Oh.
Hey Siri, generate a random number between 1 and 173.
Do it now.
A random number between 1 and 173 is 135.
I like that. I said do it now. She did it faster.
Matt Holbrook.
Matt Holbrook, come on down. You got your little coin.
Coin 325.
Yeah, cast 4 with the Spartan helmet. You can't get them anymore. You cannot get the Spartan helmet anymore. That's so far. That's been
cast 4.
That's been my favorite.
I'll sell you one for about $75.
Woo!
There you go.
Secondary price.
That
Secondary market of whiskey coins.
That secondary market's a bitch.
That's right.
Scout, aren't you supposed to be on your way to Louisville?
Yeah. Making a run.
I'm waiting for that credit card.
Yeah, there you go. We'll PayPal it. All right, let's come down off of this.
Oh, yeah.
Minimize
that
that. Right there. Boom. Nope. Didn't take. And bam. There we go. Cool. All right. 240. Let me see if we've got any questions rolling in. Let's see. Alti. Same. Loving the boom. Got things set up. Oh, it just readjusted as I was reading there. It jumped down to the end as you tapped it. All right. Where is it? He's set up on his back deck, just sipping on Stranahan's sherry cask.
Yum.
and
And
sipping
a
on
margarita. Wow.
Ooh.
I really like that
Fisted.
Stranahan sherry cask. That had a nice chocolate to it. Nice malty chocolate.
Hmm.
You picked that out blind in the
I
16
think
bottle
I did.
shootout. You
Yeah,
said that's the
I did.
Stranahan's right
Yeah,
there.
that was, yeah. And we need to go back to that. Cheers, fellow boomers. I like the sound of that. That's good. Let's see. I'd have to roll up. Okay, I don't see any new questions. More like conversations. Who is the new Patreon 172? I just joined this morning and missed part of the boom. So, well, look, but it wasn't. I think
Yeah,
we've
we've
got
had
a
a
couple
couple.
people come in today. So,
John, could be John Conrad, Stewart, and Spencer.
Yeah.
All three joined today.
that's right. 3 came in today. 3 came in. Can't wait to receive the cask 5 coin, says Nice and Neat Whiskey.
Do you have one up here? Cask 5 coins
just
are in. Go to the
my,
website, scotchtestdummies.com. You can get a Cask 5 coin. Thanks, everybody that tuned in. Bill, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me. A lot of fun.
Nipped.
We got a couple minutes yet.
Where's it going?
Now, so Labor Day, you said expect batch 2.
Yeah, it should be Labor Day, right around Labor Day, and maybe just a week or so before then. It's a really refreshing sip, so we really, really wanted to get out before everybody's cookouts.
Got
So
it.
batch 1 is the Kelvin collaboration. What's batch 2 called?
We call it Outer Loop Orbit.
Outer Loop
Outer
Orbit.
Loop.
We so I guess since we have a couple minutes, I mentioned that the powdered orange drink that it tasted like. I'm kind of a history nerd, and that drink became famous on the 1962 Mercury mission. So we tried to name it Mercury 62, and the lawyers came back and told us, "Do you own a 1962 Mercury?" I said, "No." They said, "Do you have permission from NASA to use that name?" I said, "No," and they said, "We'll pick another name." So Orbit references that, and Outer Loop is the street on which Kelvin Cooperage is located.
Oh, very
Cool.
neat. Yeah, very
That is
interesting.
cool. Good. And then the show again. So there's the cask 5 coin that's brand new. At the back is the dummy stamp. Boom.
And I would have told them. We had permission from Elon Musk and SpaceX. to use that name.
Yeah, we got
The Planet
permission.
Mercury,
Yeah.
1962.
So
We didn't feel like fighting with the legal folks, so we're not going to win that too often.
We got that. Well, finish it up. Tell us about yourself, where folks can find you, and what to expect.
Yeah, so we're on Twitter at it's at 4_gate, fourgatewhiskey.com. That's whiskey with an E, the way it's supposed to be spelled. I did see Monique's comment on the last section.
She was throwing down the gun.
And you can find us on Instagram at Fourgate Whiskey, and you can email me if you need any more information at bill@fourgatewhiskey.com.
All right. Well, Bill, thank you for coming in. Greatly appreciate it. And thanks for the samples of the Kelvin collaboration, batch 1. Simply delicious.
Anytime, I'll get you some samples of the next ones that come out too.
Okay.
Beautiful. And
All right.
Scotch It or Fourgate it, you Scotch gods.
Cilantro. Dummies.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody tuned in.
Thank you. All right, we're clicking. We'll still be live.